So I am currently one of the 3 co-chairs for the conference that's coming up next week. I've been a member of AASL 10 years or so.
What got you into being a librarian?
It was an interesting story. So I was an elementary school teacher. I started teaching in 1990. I really loved being an elementary school teacher. I taught 4th and 5th grade for a long time. And then in 2004, so year 14, at the end of that year, I had a particularly rough year. And I was just like, I'm tired. And I don't want to do this anymore. Actually, it was 2003. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired and I need to get out of the classroom. And I didn't want to be a librarian. I wanted to be the computer teacher. I have computer experience. I have tech experience. And my principal was like, the computer position's filled. I can put you in the library. And my exact words to her was, well, that's a stupid job. And I don't want to do that job. And she looked at me and she's like, well, if you want to be out of the classroom, that's the job. She goes, and at the time, the library is open access library, so it was very flexible. And she's like, there's plenty of technology in the library. You like literature. You can do some really, really good things in the library. So she put me in the library for the 2003-2004 school year. And I want to say that I was this fabulous librarian, but I really wasn't. I was okay. Like, I did what I thought I was supposed to do, but the reality was that I had no idea what I was doing. I was completely clueless. The library services in New York City has a new librarian program, so they supported me, but it was still hard. But I did know that it could be a really great job if I knew what I was doing. So I went back to grad school. I was close to 40. I was like 37. I went back to grad school with 2 small kids, and I have not looked back since. I've been a school librarian since 2006, high school, and it was the best career move I've ever made. It's the reason why I lasted as long in the profession. I recently retired from the DOE in 2024. I worked part-time last year, and this year I fully retired from the DOE, but I'm still working as an adjunct at Queens College, teaching future school librarians, which is, the irony does not escape me, because I literally was like, no, that's just a stupid job. I don't want to do that.
When you said that when you started off, you weren't a great or fabulous librarian, or what makes one? What does it take to make that impact?
So to be a really great librarian, I see, this is the one part of my life that I brag about, and then I feel really terrible for bragging, because it's like, oh my God, look at you. Who do you think you are? But I'm a really good teacher. Right? And one of the things that makes a really good teacher is I care about the students that I teach. I love the kids. I'm in it for the kids. The adults, I could take or leave because they've got their own issues. I was a decent librarian that first year with no training, because I still loved the kids and I still gave it my all in what I could do. Like, I connected kids with books. I automated the library. I taught kids some computer things, but I really didn't know the scope of how to teach research to children. What makes a good librarian or a great librarian is to teach children or our students the skills that they need, kind of like without them knowing that they're learning things that they need. It needs to be fun. It needs to be interesting. It needs to connect to them. The library also, aside from teaching to be a great librarian, the library needs to be a great space for the school community. It needs to be welcoming to everybody. There needs to be something for everybody. One of my biggest pet peeves about libraries and in general and school libraries is, one, no one knows that, at least in New York State, no one knows that we're certified teachers. Right? In order to be a New York State school librarian, you are a New York State certified teacher. I tell people all the time, I am a teacher librarian, because when they hear librarian, they don't necessarily think teacher. When they hear librarian, they like, I didn't wore my hair down, because it's like, You got glasses and you wear a bun and you're shushing everybody, right? I shush people when you're really loud, but guess what? At my retirement speech, the teacher who gave the speech for me, he's like, she's usually the loudest one in the library because the libraries should be a place of activity, of learning, of fun, and just a place to be safe. So a good librarian, a great librarian needs to know those things, and we need to get away from that horrible stereotype that I don't understand why is still so ingrained in people. Because the library hasn't been that place since like 1960.
But I talked to Jennifer last week and it blew my mind. My experience at my schools was there was 4 to 6 librarians, it felt like. And in Georgia, it's like codified into the law that you have to have librarians and libraries and they have to be funded and part of it. But to find out in some states, that's not the case. And
New
then
York, yeah, New York law, you need tech. Okay, so New York law is interesting, right? New York law says every school has to have a library. But it doesn't say every school has to have a librarian. If you don't have a librarian, you don't have a library, right? The librarian is what makes the library a library. If you don't have a librarian in the library, you got a room full of books that maybe kids have access to, that maybe they don't have access to. We're supposed to have in New York State a library and a certified librarian in every secondary school. But the way things are and how shady school districts are and how shady funding is, that's not the case. It's really quite sad. That's like my big passion project. If I could get a librarian in every school, I've been screaming about this since 2019.
how do we get a librarian in every school? Is it a matter of, is it a messaging and understanding the importance, or is it purely just a budget thing? And
I think it's a combination, right? I think it's a combination. I think it's budget, number one. I also think so many people in administration, because a lot of times administration, the very higher ups, haven't been educators or for a very long time or haven't been in a classroom for a very long time. And principals as well, they haven't been in the classroom for a very long time. And I think the biggest issue is that they don't know what librarians do for education, right? Most people, when they hear library and librarian, they just think books. And that comes to the public library as well. When you hear about public libraries, it's like books. And then you hear the books are obsolete. You got ebook. First of all, not everybody has an e-reader or can afford to buy books, right? But the library is so much more than just the books. Even the public library offers so much more to their community, but people don't know that. And people who aren't necessarily library patrons, because they are privileged enough to have the resources that they don't need to use the library. Free internet access, free computers, free things. Like you've got like in the library I worked at Townsend Harris, we let kids borrow computers, we let kids borrow games, we let kids borrow all kinds of different things that are outside of a book. We teach them how to be information literate. And in today's world, we really need to teach them. Because there's so many people, educated people, being fooled by clickbait headlines and 10-second sound bites of clips that they make these really important decisions on, and they're making it on misinformation. So the thing is that so many people don't know that librarians teach these things, that they don't feel the need. And if you talk, if at my personal opinion, if principals talk to principals who have really great library programs, they could see what the library program has to offer. A lot of times a principal will hire a librarian and they'll hire a bad librarian. And then they're like, why do I need a librarian? They don't do anything. So they get rid of the whole program. And one of my arguments for that is there are bad librarians out there. I wish there weren't, but there are. But there are bad English teachers, there are bad math teachers, and you don't close the English department because you have a bad English teacher, right? You either get rid of the English teacher or you fix the English teacher so that they do what you need.
librarians, I feel like, have this natural big picture thinking, and it's just very refreshing.
One of the things that I did in my library was I had a a big poster about tough topics with a Dewey Decimal number of books on those tough topics. So that if a kid wants to ask me about, drug addiction, and they don't want to, like, it's because it's personal, they could see, oh, I just go over there and I can go there. Just so that they feel comfortable in that space.
Yeah, that's actually really fascinating. Some of our partners deal in the social emotional learning side and trauma informed learning, and I never really paired how that could really correlate into the library to see, oh, there's a resource, and to know someone took the time to put it together and point it out. Yeah, that builds that bridge without having to really put any pressure on the
Yeah.
student.
The other thing is the library needs to represent everybody within their community as well as the surrounding community, right?
That's like the one common thread is, and I talk to every librarian, is the library is a home for understanding, and it's a place for everybody.
Yes.
And yeah, and I when I go back and think about my experience, that was always also the place where I felt free to, like you said, explore and put my hands on things. In a teacher's classroom, it felt like that was the teacher's classroom, and I
Right.
had to ask before picking up a book, or ask before opening up a cabinet. But in the library, I felt like it was all there for me. And, I could look and wonder what's in this and what does this do? And, oh, what is this book? And yeah, it was only going to be met with positivity. So that was always a good place. It's also how I made got a lot of free pizzas in middle
Pizza
school.
Hut.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, they had those library programs where you
Yes.
had to read the books, and then I like to read really long, nerdy fantasy books. So I would just help other kids get their points by taking the quizzes, and they would give me their pizza coupons. I'd come home and like, Mom, let's go to Pizza Hut. I got
That's
10
good pizza.
pizzas. They're like,
We
what?
can all eat for free.
Yeah, you go give those back. But what does the next 5 years look like for just librarians and the library system?
A lot of fighting. It's for the library teachers, education in general, a lot. It's one, getting libraries in schools with certified school librarians is a major push.
Love the term Thinkering, and we'll definitely use it in my classroom. The kids will love it.
This is where we can be that peer support network with each other. When the big picture clicks, it's beautiful when you get administrators and teachers together.
You can't be a leader of other people if you can't first lead yourself, right?
Helps the educator have a very clear and structured framework.
Becomes this real community hub. If you're a great educator, you're looking for the most powerful moment. Can we inspire kids to believe that the world needs who they were made to be?
I hope you guys continue to uphold that legacy and continue, finding kids like you.